But anyways, good morning, guys. Good morning. Good morning. We should lock in.
It's hard to believe wrestlers when they say they're either never stepping in the ring again or that they'll never work for so-and-so for as long as they live. With very, very few exceptions, almost everyone comes back after making such declarations, rendering the wrestling retirement a laughable term. It matters not whether you were screwed in Montreal or took your ball and went home because you didn't want to do the job. In time, you will be back, whether it's for the money or because you just love professional wrestling too damn much.
I mean,
let's be honest though, it's usually about the money. Comebacks can be a great thing, both for the comebackee and the fans, and are one of the things that keep us watching.
Okay, hold on. Do you guys think Batista will come back? Ever? I actually don't think he will. I think he's one of the guys who, like, probably won't come back because he's making so much, like, goddamn money doing movies already. I don't think he's one of the ones who will do it, right? Right? I think Batista doesn't need to come back. I don't know. Maybe he'll do like a silly cameo or something, but it's probably fine, right? It's probably okay. I think like once you've made it to like movie star level, you can come back for like short cameos, you know? But like, I don't think it's a full commit. Okay, wait, we should keep it going, okay? In 3, 2, 1.
How great was it seeing Edge almost 10 years after being forced to retire due to injuries, coming back at the 2020 Royal Rumble? How much emptier would our lives have been if The Rock hadn't taken a break from Hollywood to remind us just how great he is in his feud with John Cena?
That's true.
These comebacks will be talked about for years to come, as will some other comebacks, although not for good reasons. Because as great as comebacks can be, they can also fall flat or end in outright catastrophe. Any star wrestler that's making a comeback will hope that the reactions are the same as they were, the matches are acceptable if not good, and that a new audience will see them and realize what all the fuss was actually about. But as this list demonstrates, that's not always the case. I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic.com, and these are 10 wrestling comebacks that should have never happened. Join us.
Okay.
Number 10, Tatanka. Some returns by older stars make sense because there's a storyline that they could help or a specific angle that only they could be used for. Think about Sherry Martel coming back for one night to help Kurt Angle sing I'm Just a Sexy Kurt, or the Parade of Legends that returned one by one to wrestle Heath Slater in order to promote Raw 1000.
The I'm a sexy Kurt part lives rent-free in my head when I'm having like a fucking nightmare, dude. Kurt Angle's like moments live rent-free in my head. I think on some level, yeah, it traumatized me. I think on some level it traumatized me, but I still love that man. So I don't know.
Other times, stars from the past come back out of nowhere and seemingly for no real reason, which is what happened when Tatanka, a star of WWE's new generation of the mid-90s, came out of the mothballs for the first time in a decade for a full-time run in the mid-2000s. Tatanka was a popular performer in his day and famously enjoyed a long winning streak that made him a fixture on television. But by the time he made it back to the company, his gimmick seemed anachronistic, and fans didn't really care much for a man whose most famous matches were with the Lex Lugers and Ludwig Borgers of this world. In 2006, Tatanka's entrance could still provoke a reaction, and he wasn't half bad in the ring, but the tomahawk chop and rain dances felt out of place. This was the time of ruthless aggression and supposedly creating new stars of the future, not reaching back into novelties from the past. Tatanka mostly meandered in lower card matches with the likes of Simon Dean, Vito, and Sylvain Grenier, and had a brief feud with Matt Hardy before requesting his release in early 2007. While it's always nice to see WWE giving work to veterans who have sacrificed so much for the company in years gone by, their decision to hire Tatanka and feature him on weekly television and on pay-per-views at a time where so many young and hungry talents were waiting to break through is a puzzling one. Number 9.
Okay, I mean, why didn't they just like redo his gimmick? You know, why didn't they just redo his gimmick, bro? Like, maybe it would have gone a lot better. By the way, I put on like a fluffy jacket. Like if you know what pom-pom purin is, I'm wearing a pom-pom purin jacket right now with the hood up. So my room is like kind of hot. So I'm like lowering the temperature. If you hear like beeping in the back, that's like my air conditioner. I I kind of get why his gimmick didn't work out during the Ruthless Aggression era. Because, you know, like, that was, like, when testosterone was, like, at its highest, right? That was, like, when the testosterone was, like, at its peak. And, like, did gimmicks like that even go over well back then, like during the Ruthless Aggression era? I'm trying to think if anyone during that period of time had like a very specific gimmick like that, but I can't seem to think of any. Road Warrior came back?
Road Warrior Animal. Ooh, what a crushing disappointment it was to see Road Warrior Animal without fellow Legion of Doom member the late Hawk reforming the LOD with Heidenreich in 2005. Did his return have something to do with a new Life and Times of the Road Warriors DVD that was coming out and needed promotion? Or that Animal's brother, John Laurinaitis, was then the head of talent relations? Who's to say? Okay, I'll say. Those are the reasons he came back to the company some 15 years after the peak of his popularity.
That makes sense.
Fully demonstrating the shallowness of the tag team division back then. Anyone up for coming round mine for a marathon of matches featuring Gemini, the Basham Brothers, or the Ticks? LOD 2005 captured the tag team titles from M&M at the Great American Bash. The two teams would feud over the course of the never-ending next few months before Heidenreich left the company in early 2006. That wouldn't cost Animal his spot though, as the Chicago native simply moved on to team with Matt Hardy before turning on him and engaging in perhaps the least memorable feud in the Broken One's career. After Tatanka, that is. What a year 2006 was for Matt. A quick run as a mid-card heel promptly petered out, and Animal was let go from the company a year after winning the tag straps. Not even his baby bro could save him from that round of cuts. I appreciate that the Road Warriors are or were an immensely overact in their day, and that Animal, as an experienced veteran, could have provided value as a teacher to some of the younger talents. So why not make him a trainer or backstage producer then?
True. Why not
the
a trainer?
in-ring comeback was poor and proved that once you took Hawk out of the equation, a lot of the magic was gone. Number 8, Scott Steiner.
No! No! My God, no! I don't know if I've ever told you guys this, but I wanted to dress up as Scott Steiner one time for Christmas. I just couldn't figure out how to do it with, like, you know, without, like, being a flasher in public. But I really wanted to. I bought like the dumb hit thing. Christmas, Jenna. Halloween. I bought the stupid hit thing. I already have sunglasses. I bought the stupid hit thing. But then, like, I was like, oh, how are we gonna do this without me, like, being, you know, being, like, arrested for, like, I don't know, public indecency? Oh, man.
When WCW went out of business in 2001 and WWE began preparing for the invasion, fans were desperate to see the top stars from the rival organizations square off with one another. As we know, most of the top stars on the WCW side had huge guaranteed contracts with AOL Time Warner, meaning that if they were to join for the angle, that they would most certainly be required to take a pay cut to do so. One wrestler who had such a contract was Scott Steiner, a man who had reinvented himself in the late 90s, changing his look, character, and wrestling style to become one of the top stars in the business. The big bad booty daddy was a hot commodity, and when his contract eventually expired and his injuries had healed up, WWE came a-calling. On television, anticipation was so high for Steiner's return that Raw and SmackDown engaged in a bidding war for his services. Blue Brand general manager Stephanie McMahon, shrewd businesswoman that she is, offered her own, services in offer to secure Big Papa Punk's signature. In the end, Scotty opted for Raw and began a feud with World Heavyweight Champion Triple H. That feud gave us some classic segments, like the arm wrestling match they had, the pose down, and the push-up contest.
So she offered herself as part of the script, you know, for the contract, right? And then he proceeds to have, like, the biggest feud with her eventual husband. Huh. We're not gonna or like, you know, she was already married at that point? Oh. Was this NTR then? Him and Triple H had a roid off. Brother, I cannot look at Triple H right now. I'm so mad about the WWE 2026, like, cover. I cannot look at this man right now. I'm so fucking pissed about it. I cannot look at that. He doesn't exist to me right now. He's like he's John Paul. I can't say his last name because I don't know how to pronounce it. But this is not Triple H. This is Paul, bro. I'm still mad. I'm still pissed about that cover.
all of which led to their match at the 2003 Royal Rumble. And that's where the comeback fell apart. Without the required smoke and mirrors to mask his shortcomings, Steiner was completely exposed in a long match where he blew several spots and looked absolutely knackered just minutes in. Their rematch at No Way Out the following month wasn't much better, and the Genetic Freak stock had dropped so much that he wasn't even used at WrestleMania. For the rest of his WWE run, he would team and feud with Test before WWE decided that they had absolutely nothing for him and that he could sit out the remainder of his contract at home. One of the most disappointing wrestling comebacks ever. Holler if you hear me. P.S. If Scott Steiner is watching this video, please note that I love you and none of what happened during your WWE comeback was your fault and that I'd really like to keep all of my teeth. Cheers. Number 7, the British Bulldog.
Damn. Oh, that is... Did he put himself on the 2026 box? You haven't seen it? Not only did he put himself on the 2026 box, he like photoshopped it so that his like body looked better. This is the cover. I mean, the number one thing is that his titties did not look like that. You know? Here, somebody posted like the original... Someone posted the original, like, the original card where the art's from. Gents. So what I think here is that when you're flexing your muscles, right? The way that he's flexing specifically, like the tension that usually comes from flexing up because he's flexing down, the tension's gone down, which is why his chest looks like that, which is fine. It's very human. It's very, very human. I just think that I just think that like the fact that they photoshopped it in the cover for like the game, goofy. I think that like the way that his muscles were positioned in the original is literally the same. It is not the same. It is not the same. What? Are we looking at the same chest? Like, are we looking at the same chest? Excuse me? I mean, it's fine. Look, ultimately, yeah. My biggest gripe is that I genuinely think that someone else should have been on the cover, but it's fine. Did they do his hair again? I meant the pose. Oh, okay. No, we're talking about his chest. Fuck, now I feel like a pervert.
Dog. The British Bulldog is going into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2020, and rightfully so. A top performer in his day, he meant a lot to fans not just in the UK but around the world, and forged a legacy that saw him capture multiple titles, most famously in the main event of SummerSlam 92, defeating Bret Hart in a classic in front of 80,000 of his countrymen. Those halcyon days seemed much further than a mere 7 years ago when Bulldog returned to WWE in late 1999, the first time he worked for them since the Montreal Screwjob. Smith, who had bounced between WCW and WWE during the 90s and was always a featured player, was coming back into Titan Sports while nursing a debilitating back injury that should have retired him. Davey Boy picked up the injury after taking a bump on a hidden trap door that WCW had put in the ring as a way for the Ultimate Warrior to make his surprise entrance, but more on him later. Coming back at far less than 100%, Bulldog still had name value, but gone was the dynamic performer of years past. He didn't even look like the same man, having replaced his braids and red, white and blue tights with a buzz cut and a pair of jeans. After initially mixing it up with power players like The Rock and Triple H, Bulldog found himself sliding down the card, going from pay-per-view main event to European champion to teaming up with the Mean Street Posse. By the end of his run, he was slumming it on Heat and Jacked and would eventually be sent to rehab at the behest of Vince McMahon and co. before leaving the company completely in May of 2000. Tragically, he died 2 years later at the age of 39. Number 6, Roddy Piper.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. So far, a lot of the wrestlers that have been mentioned, I was maybe like one. Maybe one. Some of them I wasn't born yet. Maybe I was one. So I have no. So some of these wrestlers I don't really know much about because, like I said, I was one. You know, barely knew I was a person. At that point I was barely a person. So you know, rip.
18 years after main eventing the first WrestleMania, Roddy Piper returned at Mania 19, attacking Hulk Hogan in his match with Mr. McMahon. A genuine surprise, the Rowdy One hadn't been seen on WWE television in about 7 years, and his appearance provoked a hearty reaction from those in attendance. The company then paired Piper, one of the best promos ever, with Sean O'Haire, a wrestler with a lot of potential but not quite the personality or verbal skills to match his athletic ability. It was a pairing that made sense on paper, but didn't quite work out as well as hoped. A feud with Rikishi didn't exactly light the world on fire, and Piper's reluctance to go along with the program, he rejected taking the stink face or joining the Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club, probably concerned with the fact that everything the creative team had planned for him revolved around him being close to another man's backside, made for a fractious working relationship. After some naff matches with Hulk Hogan, Mr. America, Piper was let go from the company. The reason for his dismissal was a controversial interview Piper had given to HBO's Real Sports program, where he discussed wrestling deaths, drug use within the industry, and criticized promoters, including McMahon. Once the bad blood had subsided, Piper was invited back so that he could be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2005 and would make sporadic appearances over the next decade, usually as host of Piper's Pit. Regrettably, WWE convinced Roddy to come back for a run as World Tag Team Champion with Ric Flair in late 2006. Though a fun bit of nostalgia for longtime fans, it was nonetheless a bit sad to see Piper, and Flair for that matter, wrestling at half speed, their aging bodies beaten up from decades of in-ring competition. The run would be a short-lived one, as it was discovered that Piper was suffering from cancer and needed treatment. Once his treatment was successfully completed, he'd make further sporadic appearances, each one a diminishing return. I should point out, this does nothing to truly damage Piper's legacy. He passed away in 2015, and fans mainly remember the dynamic and fearless performer who, for a time, was the most hated character in wrestling. Number 5.
See, okay, keep your job or get stink-faced. If it were up to, if you only had two choices, stink face or you lose your job, would you let it happen? Honestly, I get it. I would have been like, man, fuck this job too, right? I would have been like, fuck this job. I don't know. See, I am like scared of like sweat like that, so maybe I'm not great. How often do you think, like, in wrestling, like, a guy's, like, dick is gonna, like, rub on you? Like, if you're, like, a male wrestler wrestling, like, other male wrestlers, right? How often do you think, like, someone's, like, crotch is gonna, like, rub up on you, like, intentionally or unintentionally? Do you think the balls get sweaty? So, are you getting some dude's, like, ball sweat on you? If you were to, like, pile driver someone... I don't know how we got here.
5. Randy Savage. Randy Savage was a busy boy after leaving WCW in 2000, booking a famous cameo in the Spider-Man film, releasing an absolutely brilliant rap album, and challenging Hulk Hogan to a fight for charity.
Good?
There were intermittent rumors that Savage was on his way back to WWE, the company he left in 1994, but those were unfounded. Macho Man wouldn't return to WWE in any capacity, save for a video game ad, if that counts, before his passing in 2011. He did, however, find his way to the wasteland of ex-WWE stars that was TNA in 2004. Savage's comeback to the ring would be brief but memorable, not because of his in-ring contribution, but thanks to his bizarre backstage behavior. Randy Savage was well known for being a, how shall we say, peculiar performer, noted for his unbelievable intensity, paranoia, and perfectionism during his time as a headliner. It should have come as no surprise then that when Randy almost got into a backstage fight with visiting longtime rival Hulk Hogan, quit the promotion, returned to work a pay-per-view match, and then only agreed to come to the ring for the finish, winning the match with a punch to the face. Rumor has it that Savage was a bit of a handful to deal with backstage, go figure, and told the Jarretts that he would only stick around if he was given the TNA World title. TNA, then a growing company with a bit of buzz behind them, weren't about to do that, and so Randy took off, never to be seen in wrestling again. While you can see the logic in bringing in Savage based on his name value, it should have been clear to everyone that there was nothing left in the tank, and that featuring him at the expense of other up-and-coming stars was a big mistake.
I'm not gonna lie, if you had showed me this picture and told me that was Randy Savage, I probably would have been like, you're lying. Because I don't know who that man is.
A sad final chapter in Macho Man's wrestling journey, but short enough that most people simply don't even remember it. Number 4, Goldberg.
No.
It's no secret that Goldberg didn't enjoy his first run in WWE. Not the biggest fan of the business in the first place, he wasn't happy with his new environment or schedule and butted heads with key players like Triple H and Chris Jericho. On his way out of the door, presumably before headbutting it, he had that disastrous WrestleMania 20 match with Brock Lesnar, where fans knew that both guys were leaving the company and proceeded to turn on the match, booing them out of the building while amusing themselves with derogatory chants. It was a bitter end to a disappointing run, the memory of which prevented Big Bill from coming back until late 2016. Initially supposed to be a one-off to promote the latest WWE video game, his emphatic squash match victory over Brock was so well received, what a difference 12 years makes, that he kept on in order to draw the feud out to a monumental showdown at WrestleMania.
I gotta say, and I will never stop saying it, honestly, I really hate Brock Lesnar's, I really hate his sword tattoo. I genuinely think it's really ugly. I think it's really ugly. I think that, like, he should have paid his tattoo artist a lot more money. It does look like a dick, bro. Why is it so veiny? There's, like, 2 tattoos in wrestling that absolutely upset me. Cody Rhodes' shitty neck tattoo and Brock Lesnar's shitty sword tattoo. Like, those 2 upset me without fail.
This time, things went far, far better, and the two had a really decent match that would have been the perfect end to Goldberg's career. Would have been, had he chosen not to step back into the squared circle in 2019.
Oh.
His clash with The Undertaker at Super Showdown, which would have been a dream match, I don't know, at least 15 years earlier, was a complete and utter disaster and nearly killed one of them. Goldberg knocked himself silly and split his melon open while he clashed with the ring post, and then screwed up the timing on several moves, dropping the dead man straight on his head in a spot that could have ended up really badly. One of the worst main events ever, this performance should have convinced WWE higher-ups to cancel or at least alter the Goldberg comeback experiment.
Yeah, what the fuck?
His subsequent matches with Dolph Ziggler, The Fiend, and Braun Strowman have come nowhere close to capturing what he and Lesnar had just a few short years ago. Number 3, Shawn Michaels. Few wrestlers get to have their last match be a classic in the main event of WrestleMania against one of the best of all time. Shawn Michaels is lucky that his swan song came against The Undertaker in the epic Streak vs. Career main event of WrestleMania 26. And for the next 8 years, Shawn kept his promise to stay out of the ring, only getting involved as a panelist or as a special guest referee. By the time Crown Jewel 2018 in Saudi Arabia came around, the business had changed considerably, and the circumstances meant that HBK could get a healthy sum added to his retirement fund for a tag match with Triple H, Taker, and Kane. Another case of a presentation that would have been a dream match many years ago, this was like watching 4 old mates messing about and playing their greatest hits for a huge payday and little risk. Most of the intrigue surrounding the match was around what type of performance that Michaels, one of the best in-ring performers ever, was going to be able to give. Flattering to deceive, the Hall of Famer looked good only in comparison next to his 3 considerably more knackered dance partners. Everyone in the match was slower and balder, but still felt like they were capable of having a near 30-minute match. It may have been special for them, but for viewers it was a stark contrast to Shawn's first comeback match with Triple H at SummerSlam 2002. Michaels has since come out and admitted that a combination of money and the fact that it was a tag match on an international show were the reasons he decided to finally break his vow.
See, I don't know who that man is. Like, seeing HBK bald is so weird to me. Like, I'm not gonna blame bro for doing it for the money, right? Like, I can't blame him for doing it for the money. But seeing, like, bald Shawn Michaels is so weird to me. I do think that he is, like, really happy where he's at right now. I think he is in AEW, right? Yeah, I think he seems a lot happier now in AEW. Oh no, NXT, sorry. Yeah, I got it mistaken. With a lot of these old wrestlers, their comeback matches, even though the comeback matches are shitty because, you know, they're like way older now, I can't fault them for coming back for, you know, money. So I get it, you know.
Number 2, Ric Flair.
Ric Flair.
Like the sexy boy, the nature boy was also given a sterling send-off from the WWE. After losing to Michaels in a poignant match at WrestleMania 24, the company paid tribute to Flair, another contender for greatest of all time, the next night on Raw, bringing out his friends and former rivals to say thank you and wish him well in retirement. It was a genuinely emotional scene and something that most wrestlers would wish to receive when they've hung up their boots. After leaving the ring, Flair continued to work for WWE as an ambassador. After crunching the numbers, however, Slick Rick decided that if he was going to make those alimony payments, that he was going to need to earn more more and left the company, convinced that he
Damn.
could rake it in as a legend on the autograph convention circuit. Now freed from the shackles of his WWE deal, it wasn't long before TNA came a-calling and offered Flair a princely sum to join the company as an on-screen figure. Flair, who didn't necessarily want to stop wrestling in the first place but was basically forced to by WWE, would also be required to dust off his robe and get back in the ring once more.
No.
Watching Flair in backstage segments or delivering a promo at that time could be gold, but watching him in the ring was quite the opposite. The heart and effort were there, but by that point Flair was in his mid-60s and just couldn't go anymore. Fans reacted to the signature moves and mannerisms, but even his biggest fan would be forced to admit that seeing the former 16-time world champion rolling around in thumbtacks in front of a small audience at Universal Studios was a pretty sorry sight indeed. In later years, when he had left the company, Flair has acknowledged that it was a mistake to go to TNA and wrestle, given the incredible retirement he had received. The lure of hundreds of thousands of dollars and a light schedule, not to mention the spotlight, was enough to bring Flair back for his regrettable run in Dixieland. Number 1, the...
Guys, man, you know, I know like full well, that like they're signing up for it, but man, at a certain level, it feels like elder abuse, bro. I get that like bro had like hella alimony payments, but shit, dude. Like even when like who was it? Like in which Logan, was it Jake Paul or Logan Paul who had like the fight against like Mike Tyson? Like I was like, oh, Mike Tyson's like he like the possibility of Mike Tyson jobbing was so high because, you know, for money, but also like you've basically woken this like 6-year-old man out out of retirement, bro. So you could like, I don't know, pay like an elderly man like millions of dollars for the sole like title of like beating a 6-year-old. That's kind of insane. But yeah, holy shit, dude.
Ultimate Warrior. Love him or hate him, and there are plenty who do both, the Ultimate Warrior was a shrewd businessman who saw wrestling as just that, a business. No mark for the sport, Jim Hellwig cared about how and when and how much he was going to be paid, and for doing what. Typically, that meant a giant check for lots and lots of money for wrestling about 3 minutes. Warrior got over huge during the cartoon era, where bright colors and big muscles were on vogue, and technical ability was not a sought-after attribute. Warrior had a stormy relationship with WWE, in particular Vince McMahon, and left the company several times over money or creative differences. Warrior's brief run in 1996, in particular, was a disaster and left a sour taste in the mouth of many fans. WCW wished that Warrior's run in their company was half as good as that failure.
Wait, hold up. I need to go back for a bit, chat. I've never actually seen Triple H without a beard, and this feels weird.
Company was half as good as that failure, because when he did show up in the Turner-owned organization in 1998, it was a complete and utter flop. Warrior cost WCW at least $1 million for 3 matches and a handful of rambling, inane promos and nonsensical backstage segments. $1 million for his abysmal match with Hollywood Hulk Hogan at Halloween Havoc 98, generally considered one of the worst ever, and which Warrior lost, and little else. In the years that followed, Warrior claimed that he was only brought in so that the Hulkster could get his WrestleMania 6 win back. Whatever the reasoning behind it, Warrior's comeback was a dud and helped further alienate WCW's rapidly waning fan base. Factoring in the costs associated, Warrior's lack of interest in wrestling, and the fact that WCW already had Hogan, Savage, Bret Hart, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Goldberg, and many more bona fide stars on their books, it's hard to find much justification for this being anything other than a wrestling comeback that should never have happened.
No, I get that.
A lot of this is just unopened.
It automatically clicked into a video. That's insane. Hold up. Oh, that was a lag. But yeah. Like, yikes. Thanks. I've always been a big fan of wrestling, and like it's something that I talk about a little too much. Yeah.